As-Salaam Alaikum and welcome back to the mini-series Muhammad's Economic Blueprint, Black Students in Science and Business. My name is Brother Kashida and I will be behind the scenes as well as moderating for today. And before we begin, we would like to open up, as we always are taught within the Nation of Islam, to do anything of value first with calling on the God. So if you, wherever you are, please take a moment as we open in prayer. Attention prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. Master of the Day of Judgment in which we now live. Thee do we serve, and Thee do we beseech for Thine aid. O Allah, guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom Thou hast bestowed favors, not the path of those upon whom the wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray after hearing Thine teachings. Ameen. Praise be to Allah. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad is His messenger. And I would like to greet everyone watching in the words of peace and paradise. As-Salaam Alaikum. Again, my name is Brother Kashta, and welcome back to the second episode of the mini-series, Muhammad's Economic Blueprint, Black Students in Science and Business. Here you have the flyer. We had the leaderboard. And yesterday, we had on Brother Khalid and Brother Charbrian representing the Ministry of Science and Tech and the Ministry of Trade and Commerce, respectively. And tonight, we have Brother Aaron interviewing Brother Diari and Brother Lakeem about the topics food science and healing ourselves in the intersection between and of science and business. So praise be to Allah. Also, stay tuned for Sunday, same time, same channel. You can hear from Inshallah, Sister Sajda and Sister Niali for Young Black Entrepreneur and Computer Science and Social Engineering. And they will be interviewed by Sister Joy. So family, again, we thank you for being on, but I would be remiss if I did not take the time to thank the visionary of the 9 ministries of the South, of getting the 9 ministries up and running as they were called for by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the mouthpiece of God in our midst. Student Regional Minister Abdul Sharrieff Muhammad, we thank you again for this wonderful platform in the Ministry of Science and Technology and all of the 9 ministries. So, like we began yesterday, we would like to take a moment just to shed a little bit of light on the topic for tonight. This is the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and in every issue of the Final Call, you can find what the Muslims want and what the Muslims believe. And the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the eternal father and leader of the Nation of Islam, laid out specific points that people can latch on to if they wanted to learn more and establish their understanding of the Nation of Islam. In Message to the Black Man, there's also a continued breakdown of many of these points. And in the section Program and Position, we have a chapter titled An Economic Blueprint. And this is the subject of this mini-series. Yesterday, we had an introduction to that chapter, and I want to rehearse some of the key points of the blueprint. These were: 1, recognize the necessity for unity and group operation activities. 2, pool your resources physically as well as financially. 3, stop wanton criticisms of everything that is Black-owned and Black-operated. 4, keep in mind jealousy destroys from within. And 5, observe the operations of the white man. He is successful. He makes no excuses for his failures. He works hard in a collective manner. You do the same. In addition to this, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad spoke to us saying, if there are 6 or 8 Muslims with knowledge and experience of the grocery business, pool your knowledge. If there are those with knowledge of dressmaking, merchandising, trades, maintenance, pool such knowledge. Praise be to Allah. Continuing on into the chapter, to gain a place in the sun, he states, in this perilous and evil time, with the confusion of the people, government, leaders, and rulers, the poor, lost-found members of the Black nation who are called Negroes and their enemies must know that the truth is their salvation and their greatest weapon at this time. The preachings and teachings of the true knowledge of God and the devil, which Allah God has missioned me to do, and I am going to do, and I am doing for you, rather, are beyond value. It is your life and light of your life. Praise be to Allah. So, with that in mind, family, we would like to begin the discussion on Muhammad's economic blueprint with these two wonderful, and I say wonderful, we had some stellar people on yesterday, and I think it would be very hard to follow them, but I'm very confident in the two we have on tonight. So first, I would like to welcome on our interviewer, Brother Aaron Muhammad, and here he is. Brother Aaron, As-Salaam Alaikum.
Alaikum, sir. How you feeling, sir?
Fine, by Allah's grace. I'm glad that you're here now. So, Brother Aaron he's truly a very good interviewer, as well as a hard worker within the Ministry of Science and Technology. So I will turn the show over to you, Brother Aaron, and you can introduce our two guests for the day.
Okay. Yes, we got Brother Alaikum and Brother Diari, the stars of tonight's interview. Both of these brothers are scientists, geniuses. They decided to do something for themselves, do something amazing, help build their nation and their family. So we'll go ahead and get started, have them introduce themselves. Brother Alaikum, could you go first, sir?
Yes, sir. As-Salaam Alaikum.
Islam.
Brother Alaikum Muhammad. I registered in the nation, I don't know, it's been over 20 years, back in the 90s, and was actually introduced to the 9 ministries fairly recently by Brother Jalil. I was already looking to involve myself just because of my interest in economic development and engineering and so forth. So we just struck up a conversation after class one night, and the rest is history, as they say.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Brother Dari. There's not much about me to say. I'm just your brother, and I have a love for the science of. And anytime there's a conversation about it, I thank Allah that I'm able to share to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, because I believe his teachings on how to eat to live and healing ourselves reign supreme.
Yes, sir. So we'll go ahead and get started with the questions. Again, these questions are to both of you, whoever would like to answer first. And again, it could be short or long. It doesn't matter. Just answer to the best of your ability. All right, the first question is, I think we all want to know is, what do each of you brothers, what is your career, or what is the degree that you may be in school trying to attain? What is your field of study?
Okay, I guess I'll go first.
Yes, sir.
I am a freshman at Southern University. That's an HBCU in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I'm on full ride scholarship to get my bachelor's in agricultural science, and maybe even a master's, because my love for it, I believe, will allow me to go very far in that field. And I am striving to continue my growth outside of the school as well. I plan on doing internships in the agricultural field. I plan on working with other businesses like our brother here. And inshallah, that will bring me a means in which to sustain myself.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Brother Alaikum?
Yes, sir. Well, I graduated from the Ohio State University with a degree in computer electrical engineering back in 2015. A little bit before then, I started informally studying economics, but it wasn't so much to do like it wasn't formally for school. It was more just of an interest in learning how the economy works, and learning more about business. The context, I guess, doesn't matter too well. There was some economic trouble back in 2008. I worked as a contractor for a little while, subcontractor, and just kind of wondered how different players made their money, and just kind of a general sense of where's the money coming from and where's it going. But in the context of our nation, I started to kind of look at the value of knowing some of these things, right? Of economic systems, economic structures, and really it's kind of motivated by, you know, any of the insanity that exists in the world at large. How do we ensure that we don't bring that into the nation, right? How do we keep that out? A lot of the instability that we see in business and even the way of doing business, the idea that doing business is or can be antithetical to family, right? You have to choose between a successful business or the destruction of your family. That's madness, right? It's not a holistic way of living. And there's options, and we know when we have the contours from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad about how to pursue business and the nature in which we do business. So these are kind of the things that are in my head as I started to kind of informally study and just see what's out there in the literature. Is there anything available that is useful to learn from, in addition to the kind of scientific rigor of an engineering degree and all that entails.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you, Brother King. All right, so we got our two geniuses in the house. We got agriculture, science, and a brother in computer electrical engineering with a little background in economics. That's what's up. I like to see. But I do have a question though. Now we know we always hear that everyone's doing big things in their field of study and their careers, and that's a beautiful thing. But how would you incorporate that with building a nation? And I wanted to target something like specifically within your field. I know we all had different gifts and things like that, but I'm talking about specifically within a computer, electrical engineer aspect or agriculture science aspect.
Yes, sir. This is where I love to chip in, because when you say building a nation, well, if you building a nation, the people in the nation have to have food. And so, yeah, we could grow food. But in my field, agricultural science, that is learning to understand the food that you're growing. You're learning the depths of it. So if you fall into a problem with the food, or if you have a shortage or you have a disease that comes across the land or anything, you have to understand the food in order to fix the problem. So it's deeper than just put the seed in the ground, put some water on it, and watch it grow. You know what I mean? You got to really understand it. And I'm in the field. My concentration is soil conservation. And so that is going and taking soil that is not fertile and putting certain properties in it and taking it out and manipulating the soil to make it more fertile and more productive for plant growth. And so this is all within the science of building a nation in terms of feeding the people. Yes, sir.
Praise be to Allah. Brother King?
Yes, sir. Wow, specific to engineering. So there's a couple different levels to this, I guess. One, and even on the main site under the 9 ministries, when it speaks about the Ministry of Science and Technology, one of the kind of bullet points is that the Ministry of Science and Technology also serves in some respects for the other ministries as well, in terms of efficiencies and establishing protocols. And this is key because one of the reoccurring themes in engineering is the value of systems, and the value of being systematized in your effort. And so one of the things that I look at is obviously with software technology being what it is, the industry and the growth of the industry, there are a lot of opportunities there. But we always want to keep in mind that the technology is always in service to our nation, which is in itself in service to the people. So we don't want to create a situation or have a situation where, we're working for the tool, so to speak, right? The tool should always be in control of the craft, of the craftsman, right? And in this case, we want to build a nation, but we also want to continuously grow and continuously and create programs that are self-sustaining, but also perpetual, right? And so one of the elements is in, and again, just in the interest of being systematized, and we see this in engineering as well, where you have a beginning stage, an intermediate stage, and kind of an advanced stage. And one of the more difficult parts is going from one stage to the successive stage, right? From beginner to intermediate to advanced. And there are ways and there are opportunities, of course, there are technologies that can help with that. But even just the general approach, right? Where it's not about a machine, so to speak, or a software and app. These things can help, but more of the systematized approach, and taking lessons from, necessary approaches in engineering and then applying that to how we go about establishing the scaffolding for different programs to come about.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. So we got a brother who's gonna be breaking down the foods, and that's a disease right there, brother. Don't eat that type of tomato. Then we got the brother Lakeem bringing in the engineering and creating programs of software on different stages, and making sure we're not becoming a slave to technology. Make sure we're not in the Terminator, Skynet. That's for the movie buffs out there. But that's good. Praise be to Allah.
And if I could add on, I don't mean to cut you off, brother.
It's about you.
But the brothers in the engineering field are just as important as my field, because I can't picture a active, literal nation running absent of some sort of program that makes producing the food as productive as possible. You really need a process. And I'm gonna be honest, that's not my forte. You gotta have a process so that everything can run smoothly. All the machinery can run right. Because we're living in an age now where we don't need slaves. We don't need so much handiwork, because the engineers can take control of that with the power of this. And so I can see it being just as important as my field. In fact, they worked hand in hand.
Yes, sir. But DR said, you can miss me with all those computers, brothers. Just give me the food. I got it. Other than that, I got it. I'm moving on to the next question. Now, I see, Bro King, you seem tall. Same thing with you, Badiari. What, when you was younger, or maybe whenever you found this epiphany in your life, kind of as many, especially in the Black community, we were always pushed towards sports and athletic type field of study, as far as, being a basketball player, being a football player. And, what made you from focusing on that jump shot and focusing on the academic?
I never had a jump shot. I was always music was more my thing, right?
Oh yeah.
Hip hop background. So, engineer. The thing is kind of funny because depending on how far you go back, you may have played with Legos, or maybe you got your hands on a copy of SolidWorks and you started playing with things and building things on the computer. A bit of that, but also just curiosity. I like to know how things work. Even in the artistic, when I'm in my artistic mode, I like the story, the behind the scenes, right? The everything involved in the actual production of a film or the production of a piece of audio. So it's really that's kind of, I won't say I accidentally fell into engineering. I didn't go to school specifically for that. I went to school, I was focusing on post-production, and I did well in math. So I just kept taking math courses. I always like math and sciences. I'm always into the stars and planets and quasars and magnetars. That's my thing. And so I didn't want to it felt weird to not be in that environment. So I just kept on. And then eventually that went into engineering. But really it's just a discovery, right? I got in trouble taking apart stuff in the house because I wanted to know how it works. And I'll break it in the process, but I'm just curious mind, right? I need to know how this works, right? Only way to know how it works, open it up, see what's inside of it, right? And just really kind of formalizing that. And I mention that because, and it's important, a lot of youngsters actually exhibit engineering traits or traits of an engineer, that curiosity. The two elements of engineering that really kind of stand out is curiosity and problem solving, right? You have highly curious minds that really want to know how this works, why that button, why that combination, and then solving a problem, even if it's just out of pure discovery, right? Hey, look at this. I'm able to do something and I figured out how to do it. May not have any specific value, but it's that ability to say, okay, I learned about two or more things that have a relationship in the world. and I can now use that knowledge to do something, solve a problem, address a need, but something. So that was kind of my path to engineering. Hope that answered the question.
I
Yes.
love this brother right here. I feel like I'm looking at my reflection, man, because his story sounds so similar to mine. Because music was my thing as well, growing up. And I would sing and, play instruments and things like that. But to get in this field, um, I was also in the field, so to speak, for lack of a better word. My grandmother and her mother had gardens, and so I live in Memphis, and so when I would want to do something on the weekend, my friends would go out and they'd go do things, but uh, I decided for some reason to go to my grandma's house where there's no Wi-Fi. I can't use my phone. I can't do nothing but walk around outside and play with sticks.
Mhm.
And so I chose to go out there, and she would be working in the garden, growing food, growing peas, growing greens, growing all these things. And I found a love for it because though I'm in this back road country, there's so many intricate details and parts that play that caused me to be interested in it. But it was being done just by one older woman. And that really amazed me and inspired me because I was thinking, oh, I could do it too. That was a big factor in my life. Seeing things and realizing how complex I thought it was, and then seeing how easy it is and thinking, oh, I could do it too, or I could try that, and I wanted to piggyback off what the brother said. I wanted to add on what he said about, how young kids exhibit engineering qualities. Now, I had toys and I would play with my toys, and I would end up breaking my toys to, I'd put a wrestling head on another figurine. And eventually I had broke all my toys. And so then I had to start making my own toys because my folks wouldn't buy me no more. They said, you done broke all of them. So now I had to learn how to, make my own toys, how to, make myself have fun. And the biggest problem, I believe, is when parents don't pay attention. The biggest factor would made me want to go into the world of education rather than the world of entertainment, because I thought about doing that. I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be a rapper. But what made me turn to the role of education is looking back on my life and saying, every time I did something of intellect or that seemed smart to my parents, they would praise it and they would encourage it. Oh, son, that's amazing. How did you do that? Because they wasn't like that when they were young. And that always stuck with me. That always pushed me to make my parents proud and being excelling in the field of the mind, intellectually, rather than in an entertainment field. Yeah, it make them smile and everything. Or if I'm playing sport, and I'm not tall at all, but maybe singing and playing instruments would make them smile. But they're only gonna talk about that, amongst themselves for a little while. But when I do something in the educational field, my family goes around and says, "Man, my son is really surprising me because I don't understand where he gets this from. I don't understand how he understands that stuff. I don't know nothing about it." My mother started sending me people's numbers to talk to me about diets and things like this. And I think a lot again. I understood. I was familiar with how to eat to live because before the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings, I looked into Dr. Sabi and all of these people, but how to eat to live reigned supreme. And I think Allah that as soon as I had found it, or it found me, Allah put people in position to receive that which I have also learned.
Praise be to Allah. Okay, so we had a couple of mad scientists at a young age, but came over here breaking people TVs and parents was getting upset. Brother Diari over here breaking people up and rejecting the Wi-Fi. Listen, Brother Diari, I couldn't do that. I was like, okay, Brother Diari, I'll catch you later, brother. I need my Wi-Fi now. I need my Netflix. I need my Netflix, brother. All right, so let's move on to the next question. What kind of trials? Okay, let's make it like a twofold question. first part of the question is, what kind of trials and tribulations did you have while pursuing or during the time of your attaining your field of study, or even now while for Brother Akeem, since you graduated within your field of study, and what kind of accomplishment have you had so far?
Oh, yes, sir. Well, we can go back to the field of study, during the, um, and one thing about the process of engineering or gaining a degree in that field, there's a lot of pressure, and there's even more pressure on top of that. And one thing is contextualizing the situation. So, for example, I actually, towards the end, it got very difficult. And I had already made up my mind. I was telling myself, I don't care if I work at a drum shop. Like, there was literally a drum shop up the, not too far off of campus, off OSU campus. And it was looking real good to just, I'll work there. Right. But in my mind, I already knew whatever I'm going to do is going to be on top of an engineering degree. So there wasn't any, like, my mind was just settled. But you get to a point um, where it's like when you work out and your muscles just sort of give, and you're clocked out, you're checked out, right? It's like a sponge that's super saturated. It just can't absorb anymore. You later find out that many programs do this on purpose, right? They want to see who can really make it through. And I say that as a footnote because you can really get lost in that because of the way that the system is set up, right? We all know that there's weed out courses and things, but it also helps to know and to have that sense of you're going to make it. And there were different times when those who had already gone through the process, they weren't Muslim, but they were Black engineers, and just saying, look, you'll get through this. Okay. And so that's one, but to go through it, right? To actually know and have that confidence that one, you will make it through this, right? You're good enough. You were good enough to get in. You're good enough to get through this, but just stay focused on the goal and don't obsess over the pressure of the moment. So that was, and there's a specific thing that I'm thinking of, and all the pressures of final exams, right? That everything is riding on this. Am I going to graduate?
Mm-hmm.
And that's real.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who they get all the way up to the end and they do not make it. I've had classmates, at the time they washed out. It was inconceivable to me, and then one in particular was doing better than I was. Iraqi vet, whole nine, had been in military combat. He got to a point where he just can't do this, and out, gone, right? And so, wow, I'm kind of bringing a lot back. I won't say traumatic, but the value of getting through it, and really just sticking with it, and calling on the God. That's important as well. I don't want to leave that out or to minimize it in any way. You will absolutely, prayer is real when you get in pressure in situations like that. But it's also important because when the God answers you and you make it through, you then have a different way of reflecting on your experiences and even the value of those experiences. So the value of the trial, the value of the pain, the value of the hardship, but also the value of being in those circumstances, what it drew out of you, how you look at the world, and even the relationships that you establish by way of those trials. It's not always easy to make sense of that when you're in the midst of the trial. That may come later, provided that you actually make it through. So yeah, that's hope that answered the question. I know it's a little
Wow.
Yes, sir. No, it's good. Yes, sir. I apologize, Brother Akeem, for triggering your CTSD, your college traumatic stress disorder. Seemed like you had a little flashback right there. I apologize. But Diari.
Yes, sir. I'm a freshman right now, so I haven't went through so much collegiate trauma yet. I'm sure it's coming, but I haven't went through that much yet. But I have noticed a difficulty factor in this area of value where it comes to trying to talk to people about food. It's a very sensitive topic, or agriculture as well. because they associate the agriculture with work. Oh, I gotta work. And then they associate the food with, oh, you're trying to take away something I like, rather than learning to like something else. There's a difference in that, and I've noticed that, when you talk to people about food, sometimes they'll say to you, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense, I'll try that, or and it really don't do it. It's really a struggle. I think it's just like smoking weed. It takes some strength to get away from that, because you have such a strong connection to it. Weed and black people, and food and black people, or any people, it's a very deep connection. And so I think in this agricultural field, say I wanted to take this and profit from it so I can sustain myself and my family, inshallah, it's going to be more difficult than growing the food here. Eat this. This will be good for you. They're not just going to eat it like that. I know my family, and it's just wild. My brother, I love my brother, my big brother, my biological brother. But if I'm making some vegan meals, he'll make fun of the food. I don't want that rabbit food, or what is that? That look like some construction paper or something. You know what I'm saying? Talking about the leaves and all of these things. And it's not that he wouldn't eat it. It's just we're not trained to look towards that as something that's good. People say everything that's good for you tastes bad, but that's not true. And so it's a difficult field, mental space to work in. And it's an emotional space too. It's deeper than just physical. And those are the difficulties I found. But inshallah, with the help of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, that won't be a difficulty much longer.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Thank you, Brother DR, Brother Lakeem. Those are some really good answers. And Brother Diari's brother is watching this. We're not putting you on blast. It's just a life story.
I love you, Day Day.
He loves you. All right. We're not putting you on blast. All right. So we're gonna move on to the next question. And this question is more of a person is asking, like a random person asking a question. What quotes, lectures, books, or people that you looked up to that can get someone started with learning science, engineering, or entrepreneurship?
Oh, I can quotes, lectures. Wow, that's a well, really, I mean, obviously the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. If you have the Supreme Wisdom, the Problem Book. I mean, one thing about, I'll say it this way, engineering, right? In kind of approaching it, if you're interested, those qualities and those sensibilities, like I said, solving problems and curiosity. That will get you a lot further than mere YouTube playlists, so to speak, right? I mean, it's easy to find a subject. You're kind of interested in the subject. I want to build an iOS app. You find somebody on YouTube and you kind of binge watch the first 4 episodes until you get tired of it and go on to something else, right? That's good for experimentation. Now, to really kind of get into the discipline and saying, well, no, I want to be an engineer, no matter what if it's chemical engineering, industrial, or whatever the case is, it's really kind of your disposition to the world around you. And particularly if you are Muslim, or you are, young Muslim in background, looking at the way approaching situations, how the minister approaches it, right? The Honorable Louis Farrakhan pulls from the sum total of Allah's creation in making points, right? We have different things given to us. One example is the study guides, right? The study guides are invaluable for our internal development. But even if you begin noticing the structure of the study guides, right? There's actual organizational structure to it, with the definitions, ways of guiding the conversation that allow your curiosity to kind of go and be in a discovery mode, but in a guided way, so it doesn't spin off into anything crazy, right? So, and I mentioned that because there's a world of good material, but sometimes you have to filter through it, particularly if you're doing it through the lens of this teaching, which is something that I'm increasingly passionate about, always been passionate about, but really learning how to do that, right? On one level, we know it's a filter, right? There are certain things that are just no right out the gate. Then there are other things that you have to really kind of refine and treat very carefully and very delicately. I guess a good example would be like the research team, Dr. Wesley, Brother Dimitri, where you're treading lightly, but you're also kind of going deep into subjects and making sure that you clear concepts, right? Leaving nothing to chance in the way of understanding or what is being presented. That's the level of nuance that you want to begin to develop an appreciation for. And that's good because that's where a lot of opportunity lies. And business opportunity, I don't mean when I speak about business, I don't really talk about money, so to speak. Business for me is really the organization of life activity, right? So you have a way of solving a problem or filling a need. The more we grow our capacity to solve our problems or to fill a need, whatever is in the way of money and whatever currency it's denominated in will come find us. That capacity is what's important. But the nuance and our ability to deal with the nuance is something that will increase our capacity to solve problems and then increase the complexity of problems that we can solve. Now, all of that really comes from just paying careful attention to things around you, paying attention to Allah's creation and the subtlety and not be so quick to dismiss the subtlety of Allah's creation. So it's not really a specific book per se. I mean, I have some of that material as well, but really it just has to do with the way you begin to see the world around you, and what's within arm's reach around you.
Yes, sir.
Do you mind repeating the question?
Oh man, I just had a mental block right there, buddy. Excuse me. The question was, man, how did I get it? I'm really having a mental block right now. Excuse me, brothers.
Yes, sir.
Oh, the question was, excuse me. The question was, what quotes, lectures, books, or people and this is from the perspective of someone asking you a random question, but what quotes, lectures, books, people can get me started with learning science, engineering, or entrepreneurship?
Science, engineering, entrepreneurship. I would say, like the brother said, we just got to be inquisitive and pay attention. I've been watching The Breakfast Club. I've been on the journey of, searching for knowledge for about 2 years because I was at a point I was dissatisfied, like the messenger puts it. And when you're dissatisfied, you're lacking something on the inside, and there's a yearn for something. And that yearn in return produces a change among the people or in the society or in the time. And so it's there, and the people are also there who yearn for something more. They just don't necessarily know where to look. And so first, before I quote some things, I want to say something to the people that are the Muslims that are in the Nation of Islam. We have to put ourselves out there because when I was a lost found or as a lost found, I was searching for years for answers actively, like going and searching up books and trying to find spiritualists and all of this. I wanted some spiritual wholeness. I wanted some physical wholeness as well to go along with it. And so I knew nothing about the Nation of Islam. I didn't think about Malcolm X. I didn't think about Elijah Muhammad or Minister Farrakhan. But if there was more Muslims in the mainstream putting this message out and taking our dear time to further vindicate the teachings, meaning going into the teachings, that's right. Let's prove it. Let's show the world that Elijah was right. People will be like, oh, wow, I've never heard of this. I was introduced into the Nation of Islam by a brother that I had met. But on the internet will be just as fine. But like I was saying, I've been looking on the internet and hearing Dr. Umar Johnson say how to eat to live. And then I remember watching Dr. Sebi some years back on how to eat to live. And everybody is saying how to eat to live, how to eat to live, how to eat to live. And it's such a powerful statement that they don't even change the words. So it led me directly right back to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the orchestrator of how to eat to live. And he got it from Master Wallace Farrakhan Muhammad. And it's a powerful statement. And if we really pay attention and do that active search to go and see and go and learn, eventually you'll find. The Bible says, ask and ye shall find. Seek and it shall be given unto you. Knock and the door shall be opened unto you. I think I paraphrased it. I don't know if I said that perfect. But y'all get where that's coming from. And so I saw that verse in the Bible and I tried just that. And eventually, all praise is due to Allah. I am now among these wonderful group of scientists.
Praise be to Allah. Let's thank you both, Brother Lakeem, Brother Diari, Brother Kasha, for the assist with the moderation. We're getting ready to close out, but I do want to just do one more thing before we close out. I had to give each you, Brother Lakeem and Brother Diari, your closing remarks, but I do ask for a favor though. Can you add in your closing remarks somewhere like some lessons or inspirational words for those who coming from behind, like the future generations? So if they watch this, they could say, "Ah, man, I really want to join that field." If y'all can understand what I'm saying.
I guess I'll go ahead.
Yes, sir.
First, I want to address the ideology we have towards food. Food is fuel. And what good use is a car with no gas? You know, it's the power fluid, because after you digest it, it becomes paste or fluid like that powers our cells, that powers our body. So what good is your body or yourself, or the body that houses the essence of yourself? What good is it if you're not putting the best into it? Cooking is like culinary chemistry. It's so much more interesting than I feel like we make it in the Black community. We eating for taste rather than eating to live. I bet we'll eat some drywall if somebody seasoned it well enough, rather than understanding what's food and what's not, because everything we eat isn't food. Everything that has nutrition isn't food. You know what I'm saying? Did you know that boogers got nutrition? Did you know that boogers boost your immune system? But we shouldn't be eating that. That's not food. We are human beings. Matter of fact, we are the original man. So there is a specific food that we should be intaking if we want to reach our full human potential. If we want to sustain our lives long enough. I want to say this. I was watching a video of a Brazilian black man, and he was born in 1901, and he lived till, I believe, 2015. He lived to be 114 years old, and he looks like he was 60, and it's on YouTube. Go look it up now. His name is Bernardo Lapallo. That's Bernardo Lapallo, and he would be sharing these videos and these quotes and these things that his father.
Diari? I think we lost you, Diari.
Looks like he got cut out.
Wait, no, he's back.
Okay, he's back. He's back. Praise be to Allah. Brother Diari, we lost you for a quick second, and it was probably because you started teaching on how to eat to live, and the enemy got super angry. So let's see if we can get you back into the stream. Can you hear us, Brother Diari?
Your sound's gone, Diari.
We lost your sound, Brother Diari. They silenced you. And I'm not even kidding. They completely silenced you.
Are we back?
Yes, sir.
All right, yes, sir.
Okay, sorry about that. I think I had
God.
But I'm gonna close that point out. I'm gonna close it out now. What to say to the youth coming up? What I would say if it was a little brother right here and exhibiting his genius, I would take that. It's really on the parents. Everything begins in the household, and so um, I wouldn't necessarily just go straight to the youth. I would talk to the parents too and tell them, as a child, there is a level of genius that is there already by nature. It's already there. All you gotta do is cultivate it and pull it out of the ground. Cultivate the seed, pull it out of the ground, and nurture it. And so they will grow up to be bona fide scholars. And so what I would say to the youth below me in age who are coming up, I just say really sit with yourself and figure out your desire. And once you figure out your desire, strive to take that desire and turn it into what my brother said, organized, what did you say? Organized lifestyle, life practice, and strive to figure out how would that help your people. I would watch Brother Ben X, and Brother Ben X would say, it's not about income, it's about impact. Because when you impact the people, that's where the money is in the pockets of the people. And so if you can impact them, they have no problem giving to you. And what is really being given to you is out of the mercy and the grace of Allah, who what is in the heart and in the mind that inspires the person to want to give. And so it all comes back down to being pleasing to Allah, being pleasing to God. If you can find God in everything and find God in your life, I personally believe everything will fall in place. It's a hard journey, but I believe everything will fall in place as you actively work and just try to plan out everything. Because as a youngster, I would want to hear that, because I was so concerned with how will I provide for myself, for my family in the future. Because yeah, I grew up in a nice house and everything, but my mama said, when you get up out of here at 18, look, I ain't doing nothing for you. So you gonna have to figure it out, partner. And I said, all right. Yes, sir.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. Diari. Brother King.
Yes, sir. Brother Diari, he did it, Wow, words of inspiration for the field of engineering. One, I would say there's this stigma of math and the difficulty of math, and there's not even just a stigma. In some respects, it's just outright fear. But the fear in my mind is really unjustified, because mathematics is our nature, right? We know mathematics is Islam is mathematics, but it's an extension of our nature. So really a lot of the fear is just a fear of understanding self. So if there's any interest, if you are kind of curious, you're interested in how the world works, you're interested in how things work. It doesn't have to be computer engineering. Like I said, it could be mechanical engineering, industrial systems. Any aspect of engineering is to really kind of hone in on your discovery, curiosity and discovery. Because even when things get difficult, that desire feeds the will. When you are highly curious, or you are highly motivated to satisfy that curiosity, you will see your way through, or you will be pathways in the difficulty where it won't even seem difficult. You won't realize the difficulty was what it was until after the fact. So in many respects, don't get in your own head, right? You'll have good days, bad days, and okay, there's, engineering, a lot of times the thought is, okay, there's a lot of math, and depending on what form of engineering you're involved in, there is. But even that, there's a way to kind of handle it and make it easy, so to speak, right? Is to be on the lookout for those things, and also, seek out those who have walked the path. I mean, ideally, I mean, just kind of again talking one specifically to young Muslims, and that's kind of a focal point of mine. One thing that I look to do, and really I want to strive to do, is creating the vessels where, for young Muslims who come up, if you want to get into agriculture or you want to get into the architectural design, right? There are places and institutions set up for you in your nation, right? You go wherever you go, if whatever that means in terms of qualification, but there's always a place for you here. There's an institution for you here. Even if we don't have an architectural firm now, we most certainly have those who have that experience, right? So seek out those who have walked that path, because there are nuances about the path and the difficulties that you face that are counterintuitive. What makes pursuing a degree in engineering difficult, or just the path of qualifying yourself as an engineer difficult? It's more the pressure, not necessarily the work. It's the level of nuance that you may not be accustomed to, depending on your background and what you were exposed to. If you're exposed to that young, you actually sail through with a certain level of ease. So that's one. And also, culture plays a big part in this as well. There's value in having a wingman when you're on campus, when you're on a college campus. You may even have 2 or 3 of them. But that's a real thing. Surrounding yourself with people who are determined to make it. Failure is not an option. There is no option of not graduating. It is what it is. But again, there's lessons and value in that that you can use and reflect on after the fact as well. It's probably kind of the subject of a whole entire show. There are different ways of valuing the kind of university and college experience, even if it's all paid. I mean, a lot of times there's a lot of issues about debt, and that's another thing. There's a way to approach debt. And we know debt is slavery. We do not want to end up in debt. But there are also ways to qualify yourself in this industry without necessarily obtaining a debt, going and using debt. There are universities across the globe, engineering universities across the globe, very well, reputable, et cetera. But that's another thing. And all of that adds to the value of our nation, because now we're talking about cultural exchanges, and everywhere that somebody comes in contact with you being the embodiment or an example, right? Kind of a localized example. Even though we are students, it's also an opportunity for them to interact with us, right? And there's a lot that you gain from that as well that adds to the value of our nation. So, if you're even slightly inclined in engineering, by all means pursue it, and really kind of don't worry about the technical difficulties. Those things will solve themselves, right? So yeah.
Can I say one more thing really quickly? It won't take no longer than 30 seconds.
Yes, sir. Buddy.
I just want to hug this brother right here. This brother is teaching. He's saying the right thing. Inquiry, question, ask questions, because that fuels discovery, And this is, I heard this one time, and this is the quote I want to say. I heard this one time. I don't know where I heard it, but it never left me. We love to read books, and that's great. But what is a book, and where does it come from? A book is someone's mindset exercised on paper. And so if you think of it like that, yes, so much wisdom in the book. They say if you want to hide something from a black man, put it in the book. Every topic in the world is somewhere in a book. Okay, that means that every topic is somewhere in somebody's mind. And so now you have, how do you extract the information that's in someone's mind? Inquiry and conversation. And so then conversation becomes discovery. And out of love, people will share information. They're yearning to teach. The elders of today are yearning to teach. They just can't wait for a young person to ask them, hey, how do you do this? And what is this? And where does this come from? They can't wait to tell you.
It's a fact.
But we don't care enough to ask. And so much information is being wasted away, And that's how God is reproduced. through that teaching from mind to mind. Take one's mind and deposit into another. And so that is a process that we neglect. And so talk more and read more and interact with other people's minds. It'll make yours stronger.
Yes, sir. All right, we got students, future student minister Brother Lakeem and future student Brother Diari in the house. Y'all heard it here first. When they get on the roster, make sure y'all know they was here first.
Praise
All right, family. That is the end for today's interview. Thank you, Brother Lakeem and Brother Diari, for your time. There's nothing more for myself. As-Salaam. I pass over to my co-moderator, Brother Kashta.
Well, Alaikum. Praise be to Allah. I mean, I'll have to watch a replay the entire episode, but just these closing comments. I mean, Brother Aaron, you hit the nail right on the head. Future student ministers, both of them. And on the screen, you all saw how to contact our guest for tonight. I'm going to flash it up there as well again. So for Brother Diari, you can explain how people can reach out to you or anything that you would want to say when they do.
Yes, sir. On all platforms, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, it's Brother Diari, BROTHERDEAREE. And yes, that is my real name.
Praise be to Allah. And Brother Lakeem, you're going to have to give an explainer to myself and the audience because we talked about those elders and I may be one of them. So.
Okay, yes, sir. Lakeem, you can reach me at lakeem.info. It's just kind of a small little personal blog site, but it does have my email contact on there, which is the best way to get a hold of me. The .info is just a new. You have .com, .org, .online. .info is it's basically a different address that you can use. Then you'll start seeing. You see .dev for .developer. There's a bunch of them now, but lakeem.info will take you right to blog site where you can get a hold of me.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you both. And I also want to mention Brother Aaron. Yes, we have his contact information. And if there's anything you want those to know, how to reach out to you.
Well, yes, sir. Like the brother said, I'm here to help you. I'm also in an engineering field, so if you need any assistance, any advice, if you're joining the field, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, it doesn't matter. If you need help, I got you back. Send me an email or my number is 229-344-5795. So yes, your brother's here for you.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you, all three of you, for this wonderful episode. And so I'd also like to mention, if you are interested in joining the 9 ministries and would like to learn more about them, you can go to that site scrolling across the bottom of the screen. It is NOY.org, and you can click on the tab titled The Ministries. Praise be to Allah. And if you would have the interest of joining the 9 ministries, you can reach the 9 ministries of the South at our Instagram, which is sr.9ministries, or you can email us at 9ministrieSouthern@yahoo.com. To reach out specifically to the Ministry of Science and Tech, you can email NOYSRMOST, and that's Ministry of Science and Tech @gmail.com. And for the Ministry of Trade and Commerce, you can go to SR Ministry of Trade and Commerce, all spelled out, @gmail.com. Again, we thank you very much for your attendance on the show today. Brother Lakeem, Brother Diari, thank you, Brother Aaron, for acting as an interviewer. Thank you to the audience for your attention and tuning in to this episode of the mini-series Muhammad's Economic Blueprint, Black Students of Science and Business. And please do tune in tomorrow for the conclusion of the mini-series, where we will have sisters. We will have young Black entrepreneur and computer science and social engineering. So that's Sunday, that's tomorrow, 7:30 p.m., same time, same channel. And so with that, family, we again thank you. And we would like to close out as we open. Brother Aaron, if you could do the honors, I will close in prayer. As-Salaam Alaikum.
Wake salam, sir. Attention prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of their requital. Thee do we serve, and thee do we seek for your help. God is, O Allah, on the right path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed thou favors. Now the path thereof have been brought down, nor those who go astray. I mean.